Dushasan's loss has hurt us deeply, Duryodhan, and now it seems inevitable that the battle will be lost to us. We have erred in certain decisions, and they have come back to haunt us. Maybe it is time we call off this war and make peace with those Pandavas, Ashwatthama said to Duryodhan. Impossible! We have not sacrificed our blood, sweat, and tears just to admit defeat at the last hour, Ashwa. You think your father, the great Dronacharya, would approve? How can you even think of waving the white flag? There is still life within our ranks, and while I may not be fit enough to battle, you can lead our banner and claim victory for the Kauravas, said Duryodhan. Ashwatthama stood still, trying to absorb the responsibility that had been placed rather suddenly on his shoulders. Give me an order, Duryodhan. Duryodhan, who was lying down mortally wounded after his battle with Bhim, mustered strength and said, Ashwa, you have the power to beat the opponent. Your Ceylon money will keep you safe from injury, so I do not worry. But I want a personal favor. Bring me his head. Bring me the head of Bhim. Do this and I can die in peace. Ashwatthama rose up and with a scheming determination in his eyes, rode towards the surviving Kauravas to plot the end of the Pandavas once and for all. The day's battle had ended, and as per the rules of war, the two sides would now use the evening and night to recover and perform the last rites for their dead comrades. No camp could attack the other, and so far this rule had not been broken. Ashwatthama stood in the leader's tent with Kripacharya and Kritavarma. The losses on both sides were immense, and he knew that the war had to be ended as fast as possible. And then there was Duryodhan's last wish as well. Ashwa, the damage we have incurred is too much. At this rate, we cannot sustain the war for long. Supplies are dwindling and the soldiers are demotivated. Duryodhan's defeat has definitely had an effect on the morale of the troops. Tomorrow will be crucial, Ashwa, and we need you at your best, Kripacharya said. Ashwatthama was quiet for a long while, and there was a tense silence in the air. And suddenly the void was broken by a sinister, blood-curdling laughter. Ashwatthama rose from his seat and let out a laugh that sent shivers down everyone's spine. Soldiers, supplies, morale, Guruji, you're just as naive as always. It is no wonder that Duryodhan chose me to lead the ranks in his stead and not his own Guru. Ha! This war has been dragged for too long. Those 5 pesky brothers and that Krishna have been too lucky for too long. You're right about one thing, Guruji. The war must end, but it will not end tomorrow. It will end tonight. Kripacharya was aghast. It was against the rules of war to engage the enemy after sundown. This rule had been duly followed, and even someone as vengeful as Duryodhan had prohibited his men from plotting an attack after sundown. But Ashwatthama, he was not like the others. There was no understanding him. Even his own father, the great Dronacharya, found it difficult to control his son's impulses. And now with him in the lead, there was no saying what he would do. Ashwa, you are suggesting we attack the Pandavas while they sleep? Where is your honor? Is this what you have learned from me and your legendary father? No, Ashwa, I will not allow this. You may be our new leader, but I am still your Guru. You will not step out of this camp. Ashwatthama turned towards his Guru and looked dead into his aged, experienced eyes. This war has seen every rule being broken, but only when those Pandavas deemed fit. Have you forgotten how they killed my father? By deceit. The great Bhishma Pitama, beaten by deceit. If they can do it in the name of Dharma, why not us? Kripacharya looked right back at his student and took a step towards him as he spoke. Whatever they did were tactics of war, my student. Have you forgotten how merciless we killed the youngling, Abhimanyu? But those too were tactics of war. Both sides have done whatever it took to vanquish the other. But not once have we broken the crucial rule of war, and I will not let it happen on my watch. Ashwatthama, who had now reached the zenith of his anger, walked back to his seat and addressed the camp. My Guruji here speaks true. He is right, of course, in his assessment. Yes, there has been a cruel use of battle tactics, and in a sense, it was right, as both sides have some gifted warriors. That said, what my esteemed Guruji is conveniently forgetting here is that I am the one in charge, and it is not my wish to break the curfew. It is my order. Kripacharya knew he had lost the argument. He then resigned to the machinations of his student, and the plan was made. 3 would infiltrate the Pandava camp: Kritavarma, who was the commander of the Narayani army, Kripacharya, and Ashwatthama himself. The objective was simple: kill the Pandavas as they slept, and if anyone came in the way, kill them too. Before they left, Ashwatthama meditated on Lord Shiva, who had blessed him at birth. Ashwatthama had always felt a connection to the god, and as he was about to embark on a mission that could lead to his demise, he prayed to the deity, asking him for protection. Lord Shiva appeared before him and blessed him, granting him a special sword. With the blessings of Lord Shiva upon him, Ashwatthama and his two accomplices sneaked towards the Pandava camp. Everything was going to plan. They had evaded the sentries at the gate and dodged the watchful guards who were on their daily rounds. The camp stood in front of them, and that's when it all changed. Standing guard at the entry of the camp was none other than Drishtadyumna, the warrior who had ended the life of Dronacharya. Ashwatthama lost control and without warning charged. Drishtadyumna was caught off guard as Ashwatthama collided into his father's lair. The two fought like wild beasts, but Ashwatthama, who was fueled by rage, caught his opponent into a lock and strangled him to death. He then motioned for Kripa and Kritavarma to follow him into the tent. Kripacharya took a quick look at Drishtadyumna's body and prayed for his soul to attain moksha. The three then cautiously ventured into the inner chamber of the camp, and behind them they heard the drawing of swords. Their next opponents were the brothers of Draupadi, Uttamaujas and Yudhamanyu. The fight did not last long as Kripacharya and Kritavarma made quick work of the two brothers. Ashwatthama spotted and killed Shikhandi as well. The three of them then went further into the camp, and there they were, 5 figures covered head to toe in blankets. Ashwatthama did not spare a thought, and drawing his new sword, slew the 5 figures. There was no sound, no shrieks, but the wounds were fatal, and Ashwatthama knew his job was done. But then he remembered Duryodhana's request. The sentry guards had been alerted at this point, and Kritavarma, who was keeping watch, alerted Ashwatthama of oncoming guards. They had run out of time, and they had to get out of there. Kripacharya emerged from the adjoining chamber, having slain the guards who were posted there. Ashwa, Kritavarma, come along now. I have cleared a path for our escape. We cannot wait here longer. Ashwatthama quickly went to the largest looking body of the 5 corpses, and with a quick swipe decapitated it, wrapped the head in a cloth, and escaped the campsite. As the three approached their camps, the night was at its peak. Ashwatthama knew that he had entered the war, but before he could announce it to the soldiers, he decided to meet Duryodhana. He headed for the location where Duryodhana was being tended to, and the healers informed him that time was running out. My brother, my king, rejoice as the war is over. Not only did I slay the Pandavas, but I also killed their best generals. There is no one who can lead them into battle, and I expect them to surrender at first light. Duryodhana, who was breathing heavily at this point, nodded his head in approval. The news was good, and he knew he would not be alive till first light anyways. For him, the rules mattered less and less, and if Ashwatthama was saying he killed the Pandavas, there was no reason to doubt him. However, he needed to be sure. Ashwa, I don't have much time. I will not see tomorrow's sunrise. But before I pass over, I need to know that they are really dead. I asked you to bring me Bhim's head. Did you? Ashwatthama quickly placed the covered head in front of Duryodhana. The dying king motioned for his servants to help him up. Once he was comfortable, he raised his hand and landed a blow on the covered head. The hand crushed the head and the ground underneath it. No, it can't be. Ashwa, what have you done? The one you have killed, it is not Bhim. No, this is not right, Ashwa. Tell me everything that happened. Ashwatthama relayed the events of the mission in as much detail as possible, and as he progressed with his report, Duryodhana's face grew angrier and fearful. Ashwa, at any point during the slaughter, had you checked before striking your blow, you would have realized that the 5 people you killed, they were not the Pandavas. They were their innocent children. You broke the night curfew. I said nothing. You insulted our teacher in front of our soldiers. I said nothing. But this is a new law, even for you. Ashwatthama stood silent in shock. He knew what he had done was probably not the best thing in the world, but as the leader of the Kauravas and as the person who had orchestrated the whole attack, he knew he had to take the blame. My brother Duryodhana, you named me the leader in your stead, and I did what I thought was right. The Pandavas have no warriors left, and tomorrow, when the real ones come, I will end them too. No parent can be focused after the death of their children. Duryodhana looked at Ashwatthama with tears in his eyes and motioned him to come closer. I have a few breaths left, and I wish to leave you with a final word of caution and warning. Ashwa, you cannot undo what you have done, but remember, you have ended our lineage, and the Pandavas will come for their revenge. In that moment, I hope the gods show you mercy, because Arjuna will not. Duryodhana breathed his last, and Ashwatthama motioned for the servants to arrange for his last rites. Elsewhere, the Pandavas, with Lord Krishna, arrived back to their resting camp. The brothers had been planning their strategy for the day's battle to come, and were returning confident when they heard the chaos. Sentries were running around in confusion, men were wailing, and healers were shouting obscure commands. Yudhishthir rode ahead, and when he saw the bodies, he collapsed. Arjuna and Bhim reached next, with Krishna following suit. The bodies they saw sent a shiver down their spine. Their generals, commanders, specialists, all lay dead, but the most painful were the 5 corpses placed in the middle of the camp. The Upa Pandavas, as they were fondly called, lay dead, with the largest decapitated and the head nowhere to be found. Krishna asked the guard what happened, and when he found out, the usually serene and calm Madhava let out a cry of anger. They break the rules, come into our camp and kill our children. This is despicable, even for the damned Kauravas. I thought they had an ounce of decency left in their souls, but it looks like I was wrong. Krishna then relayed the happenings to the Pandavas, and Bhim, who was known for his temper, rose in his place, mace in hand. The rules are off, and the battle ends tonight. I don't need an army. I will go and kill them all myself. They killed my boy Madhava. They took his head. Guards, bring me my horse now. Arjuna, who was seething with anger, also rose from his seat and ordered for his horse to be saddled as well. Krishna knew that in this moment there was no point talking sense into the anguished Pandavas, and against his better judgment, he too instructed the guard to get his horse ready. Nakul, Sahadev, stay here with Yudhishthir. When he comes to his senses, tell him where we are, and then prepare for the last rites of those who perished in the attack today. The pyre will be lit when we return, Krishna said as he, along with Arjuna and Bhim, started for their mission. It did not take long for them to track down Ashwatthama, who had resigned to the banks of the river Ganga, where he usually went to spend time with his thoughts. Seeing the horse approach him, Ashwatthama knew that this was a chance to atone for his mistake. Not by apologizing to the Pandavas, but by killing them off. If I can kill Arjuna and Bhim here, I'm sure Krishna will have no choice but to ask the others to surrender. All is not lost, thought Ashwatthama. He plucked a blade of grass from the ground and started chanting a mantra. Soon enough, the blade of grass transformed into the brahmastra, the deadliest weapon in the world. Arjuna saw this from the distance and started conjuring his own brahmastra to counter Ashwatthama. Soon enough, the two stood face to face with the brahmastras aimed at each other's hearts. Krishna knew that if the two warriors unleashed the astra, the collision would destroy everything around them, or worse. Parth, Ashwatthama, listen to me. The battle between you two is inevitable, and I'm sure Bhim is aching to get his hands dirty. But this is not the way. Unleashing one brahmastra can destroy the world. Two will do worse. Call them off, and battle it out like men. Millions do not need to die for your vanities. Do it now. Call them off. Arjuna obeyed every word of Lord Krishna and immediately called off his brahmastra. But to his and Krishna's surprise, Ashwatthama stood as he was with the glowing astra buzzing in his hand. Ashwatthama, call off the astra now, Lord Krishna announced. I would, mother, but unfortunately I do not possess the skills to call back the brahmastra. The weapon will have to be used. But you are right, millions do not need to die, just the one. I have already finished off your progeny, but the Pandava lineage still exists. I think I will use this astra and finish him off as well. Ashwatthama replied with a sly smile. Before Arjuna or Krishna could realize, Ashwatthama changed his stance, pointed in a different direction, and let the astra go. Uttara? No, it can't be. Arjuna slumped to the ground and started shaking in anger. Before his son Abhimanyu could join the war, Arjuna had wedded him off to Uttara, the daughter of King Virat, who had granted the Pandavas asylum as they spent their stipulated year incognito. The king wished for his daughter to marry Arjuna, but the latter suggested that she should take his son Abhimanyu for her husband instead. The two were in love, and it was later announced that Uttara was expecting a child. Abhimanyu was brutally killed in the war, but Uttara had remained strong and ensured the child she carried was cared for and was exposed to positive and wise thoughts. A shriek broke through the silence of the moment, and they knew that the Astra had found its target. The four of them rushed towards the source of the scream. Bhim, Arjun and Krishna rode out of concern, and Ashwatthama rode to see if their deed was done. They reached the palace where Uttara was being cared for, and they rushed to see caretakers rushing about getting healing supplies. What surprised the Pandava trio was that Uttara was still alive. If Uttara is still alive, the Astra... No. Krishna thought. I know what you're thinking, Mother. And as always, you're right. My brahmastra was not aimed at Uttara. No, sir. It was aimed at a child she carried. Now I can say with confidence that the Kuru lineage is gone. Ashwatthama taunted. What happened next, no one could have imagined in their wildest imagination. Bhim, Arjun, the caretakers, and Uttara watched in horror as Krishna walked towards Ashwatthama with the Sudarshan chakra spinning around his finger. Ashwatthama rushed towards Krishna with his sword, but he was shrugged off. Krishna shoved him to the ground and prepared to launch his Sudarshan chakra. Ashwatthama, I have silently observed brothers killing each other in this war. I have performed my duties as a charioteer as long as the rules of war were followed. I promised not to take up arms myself, but what you have done is despicable. Killing children is a sin for a Kshatriya, but you have gone a step further and killed a child in the womb. With this, all the rules get thrown out of the window, and you will now get your punishment. Not from the Pandavas, but from me. So saying, Krishna launched the Sudarshan chakra at Ashwatthama's forehead, and the Silan Mani came flying out and into Krishna's palm. Krishna's eyes started glowing with divine energy as he pronounced his curse. You were created with this Silan Mani in your forehead, and as long as you had it, you were impervious to harm of any kind, protected from hunger and old age, and now I take it all from you. I curse you, Ashwatthama. Ages will start and end. People around you will be born and die, but you will keep living, aching for the comfort of death. Your skin will melt, and your forehead will ooze blood and pus. People will be repulsed by you, and no one will help you, even if you cry out loud. I curse you with immortality, you vile Ashwatthama. As soon as he uttered these words, Ashwatthama started to age. His skin started to melt, and the wounds that had been healed started bleeding and oozing. The pain was overwhelming, and Ashwatthama pleaded to Krishna to make it stop. Madhava, please forgive me. I know I have committed despicable sins, but this punishment, it is too harsh. Please, Madhava, show me mercy. This punishment is not harsh enough, Ashwatthama. But I will tell you this. The Dwapar Yuga is coming to an end, and the Kali Yuga will be upon this world soon. Kali will throw the entirety of the world into darkness, and I will have to take birth in order to lead the people into the light. But the fight will not be easy, and 7 immortals will be required to aid my avatar in the fight against Kali. You will be one of them. The actions you have performed in this yuga will have to be nullified by you in the next. And then, only then, if you have proven yourself, will you finally enjoy death. Until then, suffer. Krishna then walked to Uttara, who was writhing in pain. She had tears in her eyes, and when she saw Krishna, she wished to touch his feet, but was unable to move. He consoled her, and without a word, removed a peacock feather from his crown and placed it on her womb. The child you carry was killed without committing his karma on this plane. That cannot be allowed to happen. As he said this, the peacock feather started vibrating and glowing with divine energy. In a few moments, the blade of grass that had been launched as a brahmastra by Ashwatthama came out of Uttara's womb, and the womb was healed. The child you carry will carry forward the Kuru lineage, and his name will be Parikshit, the one who was tested at birth. Now rest, Uttara, my dear, for the worst is now behind us. As they started to return to the camp, the now aging Ashwatthama called out to Krishna, How will I know who you are in this Kali Yuga? What will they call you? Krishna, who was riding away from Ashwatthama, looked back, his eyes glowing once again. Kalki. My name will be Kalki.